if I actually went back to my younger self and I would be at that coffee with her, I would take her from that coffee and I would go to the park and I would just sit with her in like a quiet corner of the park surrounded by the trees and be like, now you're gonna close your fucking eyes and you're gonna listen to the fucking wind. And you're gonna do that until your feet stop jittering.
I would tell her that time is relative, subjective, and time is related to like the path your life is taking and the choices that you make. If you're too young for this or you're too old for this or have you not done this yet, let go of like other people's expectations of when you're supposed to do certain things in your life because it's bullshit. Welcome to another episode of Sage Takes Time. I'm Amira.
I'm Elisa.
And this is an episode about advice we would give our younger selves or our younger team and our younger audience. Learnings from our life, from our journeys. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, and don't forget to turn on the notifications to stay up to date with any of those cool videos that we're putting out. Better do it now than later. Also, a big click on that like button helps us a lot. Thank you.
What is something you would tell your younger self?
Today.
You're on a coffee date with your younger self.
Yeah.
And you're telling her something.
Oh my God, she
What are
had
you
so much
telling her?
energy.
You're telling her to calm down. Easy.
No, not Scotty, but
Yeah.
I was a very hyper, I'm still very hyper. I see all your faces. I'm still very hyper and energetic sometimes, but I didn't have a relationship to a calmer part of me back then. And I wanted to do everything all the time. I had such FOMO. I was super social. I ran my social battery to the point of like exhaustion. I was in like every possible hobby and like after school program. I had like a part-time job. I took my classes. I went out all the time with my friends. I just had so much endless energy and I had such a deep, vast, like bucket of dreams that I just thought were all possible all the time, which was pretty cool, but it's a lot.
Was it that you had so much energy or were you kind of extending yourself to fit in all these things within like a given time frame that you thought you had?
It was that, obviously, but I didn't recognize it at the time. So, I didn't recognize that until my 30s. I didn't understand what overextending myself and running on fumes and what that would do to me. I just thought that that's how I am and that's what life was and that's what was expected of me. And the most I ever did was I started to say no. So I was like overcoming FOMO in my 20s. That was the most. Being able to say no to these friends or no to these things without feeling so bad that I was missing out on anything. I started realizing that all these things I thought were exclusive, unique experiences were actually going to be a lot more common and I could take some time off and just hang out a little bit more. But yeah, definitely I didn't know that it was possible to do anything else. How about you? What would it be like to go on a coffee date with a 21-year-old Amira?
She was cool. She was okay. I think, no, I didn't feel like rushed necessarily, but I think I would tell her that time is relative, subjective, it's a construct, it's not real.
What is time?
In some sense, time is not real. What is time? And time is related to like the path your life is taking and the choices that you make and like when you're supposed to do certain things and if you're too young for this or you're too old for this or have you not done this yet? Did you not do this thing yet? Are you not thinking about this? I would tell her to let go of like other people's expectations of when you're supposed to do certain things in your life because it's bullshit and because you go through so much change. You're never like done evolving and maturing and exploring. And things can happen and then they can go away and then other things can come back and you can pick up new hobbies or learn new things at different ages. The idea of time and our pathway in life to like dissociate them much earlier, because I did that eventually, but I think I would have loved to maybe have realized that earlier in life. So would younger EC, would she have listened to that advice?
Well, I don't know if she would have listened. I think what the younger version of me probably needed, and I will never know what my response would have been like, but I can just imagine, like, I deeply needed to know that it was okay to just be and not be doing and be running after it. You know what I mean? Like, you have just this like insatiable appetite to experience things when you're starting to enter the world, and from when you're a little kid to you just want to experience things. You want to try foods, you want to make friends, you want to go on adventures. And so I wish that I had made for myself a space to just be and start like being in my body. And I know that that's like not the most relatable terminology, but I just mean like to just be comfortable just existing and breathing and being one with nature. And those moments were so rare for me, and nobody in my upbringing ever created those spaces for me to just regulate and breathe and just know that it was okay to just relax and be calm. And I feel like had I just told that to myself, I wouldn't understand what I meant. If I actually went back to my younger self and I would be at that coffee with her, I would take her from that coffee and I would go to the park and I would just sit with her in like a quiet corner of the park surrounded by the trees and be like, now you're gonna close your fucking eyes and you're gonna listen to the fucking wind. And you're gonna do that until your feet stop jittering to do things and you stop feeling so bad that you're not actively producing or running after things. And I'm sure I would have responded to it. I think I needed that. I just never got it. So it's like, what would your 21-year-old self respond to you with?
I don't think I would have listened. I think I would have heard and listened in that specific moment, but I think the pressure from society and from family and from the people around you is so strong. And also just the way that our lives are now with social media and with comparing ourselves to other people and our friends and our peers and our coworkers and our cousins and stuff, it's so strong that I don't think I would have been able to like combat that. It would have like faded away very quickly. As soon as someone told me something about where I am in life, whether it was like relationships or work or money or I don't know, buying a car, whatever it was, the thing is I would have, the society, I want to just recognize that the society and the pressure is so strong that sometimes to the best of their abilities, people will take advice and will seek advice from older people. But I don't think either they don't want to hear it at that time, and I feel like they won't really fully understand and therefore listen and to that advice until they go through the thing and then they learn their lesson. Like, you know, you have to learn some lessons the hard way. And for yourself also, you're not going to like, if I tell you something about heartbreak, you're like, oh, okay, cool, I won't do that thing that you did. No, you're probably going to get heartbroken in your own way so that you can then learn. So I do feel like sometimes a combination of you having to experience things yourself plus pressure from the outside world is too strong. It's good to have this advice out there, but that's also what I wanted to ask you. But don't you think that in so many ways, that's what made you who you are today? Like, you were obviously exploring a lot of things. You had so much energy and passions that you wanted to try. And over time, you were able to like filter stuff out and pick the path that you actually wanted to pursue. Whatever you experienced made you who you are now. 100%. So if you mess with that one thing, let's say like someone tells you like, this guy is going to come talk to you in this coffee shop, like don't talk to him. He's going to screw you over in like 3 years time. Okay, maybe you avoid that one heartbreak, but there's going to be another thing that happens to you, you know, like you cannot avoid pitfalls and difficult things.
I don't think advice is necessarily to like always protect people from making mistakes or enduring hardships. Advice is just like light guidance and lessons learned along the way that might help someone navigate those hardships.
Okay.
I think there's a couple dudes in my past I could have avoided without necessarily having it affect my entire future. And I would have probably saved a very useless amount of heartache that would have replicated with other dudes later anyway. So I could have had like 3 of those experiences instead of 13 of those experiences. You know what I mean? That's personally. But it is very normal that when you do hear advice from older people, you don't necessarily, like you want advice, but you don't necessarily know how to apply it in your life when it comes. So that's the advice we need to give.
Right.
Take advice.
Yes, selectively. Take advice, but also knowing that some things are inevitable. Like there are things that you're going to go through that you just have to go through. Like there's no way around it. I think too much advice can fuck you up a little bit. Like it can make you very confused. It can maybe take you off track sometimes. It can make you feel like things should be easy. When no, things are going to be difficult and you're going to take time to learn some things, and that's okay. I think that's, like what you're saying, like that's also good advice. I think whatever advice has helped me in life is to know in different ways that you will go through shit, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe things are taking time and they feel a bit slower, but you're going to get there eventually. And I don't know if I would call that advice even. It's just like a learning. It's like a comfort. Like to ease the anxiety of, I'm not there yet. I should be doing this at this point. I should be feeling this way. I should be in this kind of space. And no, there's no should.
Yeah. This is the point I was just about to like bring up, is that the word should is so insanely toxic. And for me, every time I hear the word should in a sentence in my brain, it's an invitation to all of a sudden ask, wait a minute, where is that should coming from? Because should is usually imposed from external sources. So let's say I'm struggling with a certain decision in my life, okay? I'm struggling whether or not to move from Dubai to France or come to Egypt, and I don't know what I want. I have a really difficult time sometimes really identifying what I authentically want for myself. And that's because I have so many layers of people's shoulds in my brain. You should be near family. You should be near your job. You should be near friends. You should prioritize a relationship. You should prioritize your company's needs. You should be in a major city because that's where things get done. And I actually struggle with filtering through all those shoulds. And once I say, you know what, if it has the word should in it, just let it go out. And let me just think about, first off, like, what do I not necessarily like, am I not necessarily expected to do?
Yeah.
Something that doesn't have the expectations, but that feels right to me in my heart. Do I want to live in Dubai? Do I want to live in Egypt? Do I want to live in France? What do I feel in my body as like bringing me comfort and feels like aligned with me? I need to work on flexing that muscle to guide me through the life that's right for me. Because if all timelines are constructed, there is no path to follow. It leaves people with a very like unstable ground. And we find comfort in knowing that we're supposed to do this, or that there's a format to life and a format to the timeline. But if there isn't, then what is going to guide us on our path? And I think...
No, I'm not saying there shouldn't be. I'm just saying that when things happen is not so as rigid as society would have you believe, or your family would have you believe, or your other friends that are doing things that look like they're getting there, wherever there is, faster than, and you're falling behind. I feel like that is super toxic and can lead to a lot of like feelings of stress and anxiety and even depression when you're younger, and can then inhibit you from following your own life path because you're comparing yourself to others. So maybe that's another advice, is to, as much as you possibly can, not to compare yourself to other people and what you're going through and the steps that you're taking to get to wherever you need to go or wherever you want to go.
Yes, I really do believe that you are like hyper affected by the people you spend the most amount of time with.
Yes.
And you don't want to compare yourselves to them. They're making X amount, or they're living this type of lifestyle, or but if you surround yourself and you make it a point to curate the people that you're with, and that means really taking a hard look at legacy friendships that are defaults since you were a child, that maybe don't, provide comfort, solace, acceptance to you. Try to curate as best you can a group of friends and a regular like environment that will guide you towards like a happier life, a life where you're like, you will rise to the level of the people you surround yourself with, or you will go down to the level of the people that you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with people who are always unmotivated, who are not searching for the same things that you're searching for, who are jaded and angry, or who, I don't know, go and seek some sort of escapism through unhealthy means, even if you don't directly participate, you will kind of like absorb that energy, and it will subconsciously feed into the steps that you take in your life. If you can, curate as best you can people around you that are like, that love you, that are there to support you in whatever you need to help you live the most authentic path. It takes a while, but that for me would be like my biggest priority as a 20-something would be like really go choose your friendships. The friendships I've curated in my 30s are like treasures that I never thought in a million years I would have in my life. And I look back at my 20s and the thousands of people that I used to socialize with who mean nothing to me today. Who have never stood up to that title of friend and don't even like reach the soles of the feet of my current friend in terms of like showing up for me. That was time not necessarily wasted with other people, but it was just maybe a hindrance to being a better version of myself earlier on.
But I do also think it's important, and if you can, as much as you can, to maintain those legacy friends that are healthy for you, no matter what. Yani, if there's distance, if there's challenges, there is a lot to say about having friends that knew you at a certain moment in time that no one else will ever get to see, as long as they're not like toxic, horrible people like that are bringing you down, obviously. But to also work very hard to maintain those healthy friendships that are from time periods that you won't ever get back. If you can, like from your childhood or from high school or from university, you know, those kinds of moments that are filled with like nostalgia and really made you who you are. If you can work very hard to maintain those friendships as long as they're serving you and not feel like, yeah, like I've moved to this place now, I don't need that anymore, or like not to let go of those people that are special and are healthy for you easily, because making friends as you get older also is more difficult. Maybe the quality of those friendships are deeper and more profound because you know who you are and you know what you want more, but there's also a lot to be said for the lifelong friends.
Yeah. I understand it. I don't think like all the friendships that I have today are friendships that require a bit of effort. I need to make sure to like schedule maybe a regular catch up.
Yeah.
But they're not friendships that require hard work.
Sure.
They're not friendships that will ever punish me for being how I am. And I know that there were like, I had friends who just had such high expectations or unrealistic expectations for what they wanted from me, but weren't able to give back. And I don't like this aspect of like serving necessarily. I don't need friendships that serve me because I don't necessarily I think that term is a bit too transactional. I know it's very positive and I used to use it a lot, but I've been very careful about the idea of people saying, oh, cut out everything that doesn't serve you, because not everything in the world needs to serve and cater to you, but friendships at least that like soothe your soul in some way, where you feel seen. Do things in life that make you feel present. Be with people who make you feel present and seen. Yeah. Wherever they're from.
I think we agree. I'm just saying that if those friends from like your lifelong friends from your childhood or whatever are not toxic and they are like giving you that space, and no, hold on to them, because there are people and circles of friends or maybe cousins even, you know, like those dynamics that really instantly bring out your inner child, no matter how old you are.
That's true.
That's very, very special. And that's something that if you can hold on to, that is very, very special. And it's beautiful to always be able to come back to that space if that space is available to you.
Yeah.
But that takes a bigger effort to hold on to than the friendships that you make in your 30s that are much more selective and much more like convenient. Also, they're probably still around you or you work with them or كده يعني. But I want to also talk about the financial aspect of life because I think that's a question that a lot of younger people ask.
Hard pivot to financial advice now. Financial advice.
Financial advice for the young ones, for people that are just maybe graduating or starting out, working, starting their careers.
Oh, I'm not a good person.
Oh,
to ask
you're
about
like,
this.
should I say why?
Absolutely.
Why are you not a good person?
Oh, I wasn't taught healthy financial lessons. I had to kind of learn them by being immediately thrust into managing the P&L of a business at 23.
What's P&L, just for people that don't know?
Oh, a profit and loss or balance sheet of money that comes in and goes out of a business, of the expenses of the business, and budgeting for a business. Like I was like always cocooned and taken care of by my family. And then when I started my company, it was all of a sudden just being thrown into this world of having to understand what and where expenses stood in regards to running and starting a business in a finance management company, like in an industry that I had no experience in. And I had to kind of figure out what it meant and what was overspending and what was appropriate to spend on different things.
So you learned that older, and your older self had to learn that.
Yeah, and I think I just got better at doing more with less. This is what we do best at Wamina, is we always learn how to do more with less. But I don't think I'm the best person to give advice on
that space.
Finance management.
Okay.
You tell me, what's your number one financial management tip for you?
Make your own money.
Yeah. Oh.
You must. I want to say, especially if you're a woman,
Yes.
but everyone should seek and learn how to make their own money and understand, make their own money. Why? Because it will help you understand what it takes to make your own money. Because that learning is quite difficult. And I think it's very important to integrate within your value system the idea of how to earn money, how to create a livelihood for yourself so you can be eventually, maybe not right away, early on in your life, especially in today's world economy. It might take a bit longer, but the idea of making your own money, what it takes to make your own money, the value of that money, the value of making your own money, what money means, the idea of like, I make this is coming in, and then I spend it, and then this transactional process, I think we're protected from it, especially in our part of the world, since we tend a lot to live with our parents, sometimes until we're married or until we're like much older. It's not as normalized to like move out. Once you graduate high school, then you go off to college and you move out and then you're just on your own. That's not really like how our society works. And that has a lot of pros. So I'm not like saying that there's a lot of like support and family ties and stuff that is very important. But that shouldn't mean that you don't learn how to make your own money early on. And that process and what it means to you and how you value money within your life. Where is it placed in your value system?
Yeah.
You won't really be pushed to figure that out until you start working. And you can start working when you're like 14, 15. You know, there are things that you can do when you're younger. Like I started babysitting when I was 12 years old.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so my brother was like a paper boy. You know, these are very like American things, but you can do these things here now also, and you can يعني this process of dealing with people that you might not absolutely love and doing things that you kind of have to do because it's the job, and this is important. When you're older, you can or as you grow, you can then learn, how do I choose what I want for myself? What are the things, how do I value myself? كده, بس I think the earlier you can start that process, the better. And within that, I would say this is something that my parents used to teach me, but I thought it was like silly, to start saving anything that you can monthly from a very young age. As soon as you start making money. That sounds ridiculous to someone who's making maybe like a couple of thousand or a few £1,000s a month because they're like, this is their first job, or they're super entry level, or even if they're interning. It sounds silly to then ask that person to like, if you can save £500, you know, that would be really good for you.
Egyptian
10 years
pounds.
From now. Egyptian pounds, yes. Whatever it is.
I mean, a couple £1,000 sterling is pretty good if you're like 16
No,
years
I'm talking Egyptian pounds. What I mean is like whatever the amount is that you're making early on, it's going to be lower than what you'll make like 15 years from later.
Yeah.
But
the habit you're learning.
The idea of people telling you, even when you're making a little amount of money, just save whatever you can. 10%, 3%, whatever percentage, put it aside. That sounded silly because at the time that was like such a small number. It's like a coffee, مثلا, or it's like 5 coffees. Why would I save that when I can I'll save when I make more. But I think it's a good habit to start developing, and it does add up. It's not zero. We were talking about this yesterday.
We were.
Whatever is like, seems like a small amount, it's not zero. Zero is the baseline, or is the bottom.
Yeah.
So whatever is more than zero is good. Even if it seems like it can get you a t-shirt, no, you can save it. And it will do you good a year from now.
And that actually ties into where I really struggled. It's because I never had that slow learn of starting with small amounts that were given to me privately for me to decide what I was keeping, what I was spending, what I was saving, what to learn to budget for myself. Even when I had jobs, they were usually unpaid, and I was happy to take unpaid jobs for experience.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a point of pride for some reason. And then all of a sudden being thrust into a situation where I'm managing a budget of $100,000, for example, for the company. Like, I didn't know how to do that because I never even done it on a small scale. So even if in your career, if you end up going towards places where you're managing projects and budgets, that you have to be able to have that. I completely agree. That's like an compromising piece of advice. And I would also say it's so important beyond the lessons that you learn. People who make their own money have independence.
Yes.
They have the freedom to make the choice to stay or to leave a situation at any point in time, to eat what they want, to drink what they want, to make the choices of who they spend their time with. They're not necessarily, like, you are given that freedom that you can choose to exercise when and if you want.
I agree. You can come from scarcity and not know financial independence, and you can come from wealth or extreme wealth and also not know financial independence.
Yeah.
So both in different ways are very, very important for you to, as a human, like you said, because that's the ultimate freedom, starts with financial independence.
Yeah.
Especially in capitalist societies, unfortunately,
100%.
but that's just a fact.
I'll tie to it. I see your financial dependence, and I'll raise you the fallacy that entrepreneurship is a path to financial independence.
Oh my God.
It is.
Preach.
That is the biggest lie. Yes. I have yet to meet an entrepreneur who was like, absolutely, I am now financially fully independent from anyone and everything because I started a business. Most of the time, unless from day one, the business that you're starting is not breaking even, but profitable, you are not a financially independent entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship requires injections of capital from other people that you become tied to and become more financially dependent on than you were before. Like than you would be if you just took a job, made money, and were able to then, from savings, invest in yourself and support yourself. And most of the time, entrepreneurs in this society right now find themselves in tech businesses that prioritize growth over profitability, over monetization.
Exponential growth.
Exponential network effects growth.
Yeah.
That is going to get you all of the followers or the users or the clients. You will figure out how to make money later. That is the mantra of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
It's
a pyramid scheme.
It is a pyramid scheme, and that's an episode for another day. But that is the mantra of Silicon Valley, and it is the biggest fallacy, because if your business fails, not only do you find yourself heartbroken because the dream that you wanted to achieve is now off the table, but you also usually find yourself indebted to people.
Yeah. I think also in the same way, like on the entrepreneurship note, that's not the path to financial independence necessarily. It's also not the straight path to having freedom with your time.
Yeah.
Because there's this myth also, like I left the corporate world, I'm an entrepreneur now, I can completely manage my own time and I have all this freedom. No, that is not true. As entrepreneurs work their asses off, they're working 24 hours a day, you have less time. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying like don't try to escape this world because you think that that's what you're going for. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you should have other reasons. You should have a kick-ass idea or a unique idea that you want to explore. But don't think it's the path to financial freedom or the path to freedom of time and movement. It's not necessarily. Both of those things, you have to work on other things to get to, which you can work on in any space.
So many friends of mine, once we entered our 30s, especially when the pandemic hits and things get really, really off, become insanely grateful to not have the weight of responsibility of entrepreneurship on their shoulders.
Yeah.
And I had friends who said, I used to feel guilty that like I never took the jump and I just stayed in my corporate job and I just did my 9 to 5 and I wasn't as ambitious as my other friends. But honestly, it's really great. Like now when my workday's over, I just put my phone away. And I get to see my friends and I get to do the painting that I want to do, or I get to work on my hobby, or I get to think about a business idea I maybe do later, or I'm now going to find a new way to be creative or to move or to travel or to whatever the fuck they want to do. But there's a type of freedom, different kind of freedom that people don't talk about, that comes with the ability to switch off.
Yeah.
And the privilege of not having the responsibility of like other people's salaries to pay and other people's health insurance on your dime and other like just and clients that you have to service in case and investors that you have to report to, and all of this is pressure that maybe sure I got to start work at noon today and like have a breakfast with my friends and I got to manage my own time. But I actually haven't slept well because the second something hits my business, I'm responsible for all of these other things that are crippling.
Yeah.
And sometimes I really do wish there was there was some sort of off switch where just sounds so nice.
Yeah. like taking young Elisa to a park.
Like taking young Elisa to a park to just like listen to the stream.
How about
passing through
relationships? Relationship advice. If you had to just pick a succinct nugget to tell younger people as they are exploring life and relationships.
Yes. Learn to foster your own fulfilling life as an individual person outside of a relationship. That's the advice. That will help you in and out of any relationships. It will also help you enter into relationships healthily and exit unhealthy relationships smoothly. It is like if you are a person who has taken the time to get to know themselves, to build a life for themselves, who knows their values, who knows their worth, who knows what they're interested in. I mean, really, you believe in your self-worth. You have not grandiose ideas that you, and I disagree with that, you're like a queen and everyone needs to treat you. But I mean, you're a fully formed human with your interests, how you like to live life, what are the things that you like to do, Not that other people like to do, that you can go along with, but really forming an identity for yourself that is rooted and like a center point, because whatever relationship you're in, that center point ends up being a guiding light to things. It is your guiding light to be able to say, oh, wow, I haven't connected with my center, or like, I don't even feel like myself anymore. I'm not doing the things I've always wanted, I've always done. What is that? Am I losing myself in this relationship? Is this person stopping me, or this relationship dynamic is stopping me from being myself?
Yeah.
If you don't have that established sense of self, it's so easy to just get taken along with love and feelings and emotions and excitement, and find yourself down the line completely unable to remember who you are and who you were.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, we're done then.
We're done. That's relationships. I will add something that might sound a bit like a generalization, but I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
If it resonates with you, hold on to it. First of all, like, there's no rush to get into any particular type of relationship, despite what society, especially in our societies, will tell you.
For sure.
Especially for women. So that's like a big starting point. At the same time, I feel like you evolve so much in your 20s, and you're learning so much about yourself, and you're exploring so much in life. And I do feel like you hit a really critical point. At least that's what I experience. And the more I talk about it, I feel like other people have kind of realized, yeah, that's true also. Around like the 26 to 28 year mark, where you really like reevaluate and reflect on a lot of the learnings that you've like been raised with, or society has told you, or ways that you think you should be. There are some things that you like have been wanting to shake off, that maybe that's the time when you really start to like intentionally shake them off, learn more about yourself, maybe redefine some of your core values, or reject some that you thought were core values that are not super core anymore. I just feel like it's a really pivotal time, and you do go through a huge shift in this age bracket كده. And
certain ages, like 25, 27, 30, I think things happen for women that are so monumental. Where you go through pivots.
Not just for women, I think for everyone. Yani. And then there's this thing about like, when does your frontal lobe fully develop?
25.
And it develops after 25. But there's that. I don't know how like scientific that is. It's scientific. So they're backed by this also. I would say even on like a social level, on a value and beliefs level, you do go through those changes. And then that's kind of the age when you decide what it is you want to keep, what it is you want to let go of as far as your values and beliefs and who you want to be. So I would say that relationships that develop maybe after that point are, you, like what you were saying, you're maybe more solid as a person and what you want and what you'll allow in your life. And I feel like, I don't want to like blanket statement say like, don't get
married before you're 30.
Before you're like 27 or 28 or whatever. But I would say that there is that pressure when people are like graduating, and there's like a wave of people that are getting engaged and getting married and stuff. And I would definitely advise people not to rush into anything.
100%.
And that there will be changes that happen throughout your life.
Yeah.
But in that time, it's kind of pivotal. So either wait to get into like a committed long-term relationship, whether it's marriage or a partnership or whatever, or know that if you are already in a marriage or a long-term partnership, that person has to be able to grow with you, and recognize if that's not happening, then you need to really reflect on that and be honest with yourself about that.
And allow you to grow. That person that you're with needs to recognize that you also are going to be going through a lot of changes in those years. Yeah. So much. I mean, I can almost pinpoint the years of major pivots for the women in my life. And You don't want to say the blanket statement? I'll say the blanket statement. Don't get married before you're 30. I know that that's extremely like general, and it's difficult when we adjust it to like the regional expectations, where very often dating is not what dating looks like in other cultures. It's not something that you're super free to do, and spending time with the person that you want to be in a relationship with is restricted, and the experiences you can have together are restricted. So, and that's actually by design in our culture, to make people marry and earlier, but it doesn't actually help. I think it's safer. You can do it, but understand that you're both going to change, and you need to enter into those relationships knowing, as you said, that you're both going to evolve and change, and leave room for both of you to do that respectfully. But if you can, if you're in a situation where you have that freedom to do it, find your person, be with your person, be with them from high school even. Yeah. But wait to make that type of a legally binding big step until you're at least 30. That was my personal take.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, some people find like their soulmate or the love of their life, if you believe in that stuff, yani, much younger, and that's fine. But again, like, I think the key then is to just know, like we were saying, you are both going to change. So you better, if you're going to get into that kind of commitment, that is also legally binding. That's a very good point. It's not just like a commitment between us. It's has a lot of other branches of connotations as well, and ties. So know that you're both going to change, and be ready for it, and be ready to accept it, and then also be ready to really reflect on whether that change for you and for the person still benefits you and still is what you want in life, and is true to the values that you have at that point. And if not, then you need to be flexible with what you do with that relationship.
I mean, at the end of the day, our current societal romanticized ideal of love is that it's forever. Is that when you commit to your person, that there is such a thing as your person. When you commit to them, it is for life. And if that is the case and you believe in that, like, beautiful. That means you have your whole life to be evolving in your dynamic with each other, and that there isn't such a rush to restrict or muddy the waters or limit each of your individual journeys by tying yourselves to things like a marriage. So you always are growing and evolving to be closer to who you are. And you need to just trust that a later version of you can still make the same decision, but will probably make it slightly more authentic, having shed a lot of the shoulds and the expectations that our societies place on us. When change and growth inevitably does happen, you're going to experience conflict in your relationships. And that doesn't mean that the relationship is necessarily like bad or doomed or not destined to be. There's such a romanticized ideal around ease and whimsy and like the beautiful, simple, like joining of two souls for life, that they'll never fight. And there's such a strong quote that I always go back to, which is that healthy couples aren't necessarily the couples that don't fight. They are the couples who learn to fight better. They fight healthily, like
constructive fighting.
And fighting is maybe like just a triggering word for people, and it has these connotations. But I mean, like, couples that don't fight ever sometimes it's even a red flag, because it might mean that like they've just lost interest in like giving a shit, you know? And sometimes couples that are constantly trying to work through things are couples that really care. The biggest lesson you can learn in a relationship is how to fight well, healthily, how to communicate through these things, how to disagree and come through it, because that literally is most of what a relationship and a long-term committed relationship is going to entail. Consistent efforts towards alignment, with a person who is different to you, who is consistently evolving to be different to you, and you are also then evolving to be a different version than you were 2 weeks ago or a month ago or a year ago. And you have to keep learning who the other person is today, who they were, how they are, how they're about to be, communicate who you are, what you want as things change. It's a continuous conversation and negotiation. And it's fucking exhausting sometimes. But it's a fallacy to think that the perfect partner is one that you never have any sort of disagreements with, or that you'll never ever have a fight with.
Sure. I'm just going to quickly add that if after all that work it's still not working, you need to cut the cord
also
quickly.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's a lot of advice. Learnings. Advice/learnings for people.
I'd love to see what other people's like big advice, like main takeaways on these topics would be. Like, let's turn the comment section into a kind of like advice chain. And actually, if you know, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review and we get to see those and give us the advice. You might read it on like a future episode of this. So we'd love to hear from you guys. If you disagree with us, like, what did Amira say that was wrong?
Yeah. Also, I'm not sorry. I stand by it, but I would like to learn.
And obviously you agree with everything I said, so it's fine.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for listening to the episode. Like, share, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications for the Womina channel, and show us some love. Subscribe to become a member on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts if you can. Yeah, it literally goes directly to making more content like this, guys. We have a beautiful, wonderful team who really go like so far to make all of this possible. So if you want to keep seeing more of this, make sure to do all those things and engage with our platforms. Thank you so much. And remember that sage takes